I want to share with you a photo booth industry secret, something that can make you tens of thousands of dollars in a year. And this is something that I think everybody needs to implement into their photo booth rental business. It is called white labeling. Maybe you've heard me mention it. I might have said it a few times in some videos, but this video, I'm gonna go over what exactly is white labeling and how we operate our white labeling events. So, really quick, what is white labeling? Great question. It is just as simple as I can put it, one photo booth company hiring another photo booth company to work an event under their name. They're not out there doing events for people, handing out their business cards. Just think of them as a glorified photo booth employee. And I want to go over as much info as I can here, and I think the most important takeaway of this video is never say never. Basically meaning saying never say that we're booked. Never say that we can't do this event. It doesn't matter if you're already booked. It doesn't matter if it's in a location that you don't operate or if it's something that you don't even have. So if you're an iPad photo booth owner and you don't have a 360 booth, you should still have somebody in your area that has that equipment that you can rely on, and it is a long-term move. A hustler will look at this video and say, oh, perfect, an easy way to make $100 off of the top. And the answer shouldn't be like, yeah, like that's the only reason, but like a more of a business mind operator, photo booth owner, will see the more important part, which is you get to keep the client, right? You know, like, yes, maybe you can make $150 by having someone else work an event for you, but more importantly, that client could end up being a gateway, you know, like maybe that event, someone else finds your company there because they're basically working for you, and it ends up being your best customer ever. I can literally look back at all of my past white label events and just look back and see how much I benefited from it. I've probably made well over $100,000 from day one all the way till today from those white label events. So it's very, very important to remember, you got to make sure whoever's white labeling your events for you, if you're white labeling for someone else, the person that gets the lead, that's the boss. They're keeping all the benefits. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about basics. Who makes the template? This is something I get asked all the time. It depends, but for me, when we have people white label for us, we like to make the template because no shade to anyone else, but I do feel like we make really, really, really amazing templates, and that is such a big part of a photo booth rental is the design. I know some photo booth owners that will literally do none of the work, they'll just get the lead, they close the deal, and then they hand everything off to the white label person. Me personally, you know, we want to make sure the template's good, so it just depends. Also, if you do find someone to work your events, right, you could give them the option. Hey, you can make the template, but if we make it for you, could we lower the price a little bit since you don't have to do that? You could definitely do that. But to me, we like to make the template, so we also will be in charge of contracts. You know, we have a contract that the client signs. That is that's the boss's move, is to make sure those agreements are signed. The person that you hire to work an event for you should be using their own equipment, right? Last thing you want to do is hire someone to where they have to come pick up your stuff. Just hire someone that already has equipment. And if you're a Photo Booth 101 member, this is kind of why I created the networking group chat, because you can find someone local to you that probably has your same photo booth. Because if you're in our chat, you bought a photo booth from us. But if you're just, not one of our owners, then I definitely would recommend just making sure you know what kind of equipment they have beforehand. Business cards. You definitely want to make sure that they have some business cards for you, so at the event they can hand them out. If it's last minute, it may be a little difficult to give someone some business cards, so I think it's a really good idea to find someone that can work your events for you ahead of time, right? But if it's like a last minute event, and let's just say you're in LA and then they want a photo booth in San Diego, you may have to just kind of pull some strings to find someone last minute. But let's talk about money. Money, right? Like, how does this work? Who pays who, when, deposit, all of this. So usually if you're hiring someone to work an event for you, you are the one paying them. The least The less interaction the white label person has with your client, the better. You just want them to show up, perform the service, and leave. You don't want them being the ones asking for money in payment. And what I love working with the people that we work with to do our events is I will pay them first. I'll even pay them before I get paid, because I want the people working my events to absolutely feel excited when my phone call comes to their phone, right? I want the experience to be as good as possible. So that is on me. I know some white label partners that will literally pay the white label person when they get paid, but that might be a problem if it's a corporate event. And if you don't get paid a month after the event, if they got to pay you by check, it's kind of annoying to the person that's already performed the service and to make them wait for their money. I do think it's a really good idea, if you're going to start hiring people to do your events, is make sure there's an agreement that is signed. And again, Photo Booth 101, we've thought of everything. We actually have white label agreements for you to use for those people that you have working for you. It goes over everything. Basically, what is the role, them not promoting their business, payment, all of this stuff. And I will leave that linked in the TikTok bio. Just go to our website. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll leave that in the description of this video. So just make sure you have an agreement, and that way there's no funny business going on. So yeah, and if there is damage, right? Like let's just say they perform service for you and something happens to the booth, it's your responsibility to take it up to the client. It's not like an over-complicated thing, but like I wanna go over like strategies of finding the correct white label partner. If you can find someone that has the same photo booth as you, it's even better, right? Because last thing you want is to have someone work an event for you and then they come with a random photo booth and the customer is gonna give you like a little bit pushback, possibly, right? They're gonna say, well, on your website, the booth looked completely different. And if you have them work it for you, then they come back and hire you maybe a month later. If you show up with your photo booth, they may expect the first one, if that makes any sense. How to find people. If you're in Photo Booth 101 community, go to the group chat, make those connections. It happens every single day. And also just make sure, like if you're not in our group chat, if you're finding someone off of Google or Instagram, make sure you're stalking their profiles. See the work, see the understanding of photography, right? You wanna make sure they have good content, great photos. Make sure they've done some events. You don't want someone to represent your company and have it be their first or second event. So there's a lot of things that you have to that goes into it. Typically for me, when I have someone work an event for me, I always make sure that like we're on the same page. I think it's a good idea to like have them check in with you, right? Day of the event. Hey, send me a text when you're leaving. Let me know when you're there. Send a photo right before when you're ready. That way, you can be like aware of what's going on. Last thing you want is just to hand the event to somebody and then not even think about it. What if they're late, right? Or like, what if there's something? So communication is key. And I really do think it's important to like kind of really, again, vet the person that's going to be working for you. And you have to make sure you like them. That's the main thing. Because if someone gives you bad vibes, those bad vibes will probably be passed on to the people at the event, and that's not something that you want. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And again, remember, we have the white label agreement contracts available, photobooth101.com. Thanks for watching. God bless. See you soon.